Hello. I tried to film outside just now and a bug was attacking me, so sorry you guys don't get to see my backyard, but that's okay. So I'm back. Hello, good to see you all. It's been hard to figure out what to make a video about, and something I'm really trying to be sensitive to is not just posting for the sake of posting, but really listening to God and when he's prompting me and then trying to just be obedient. So if there's ever gaps in me posting, that is probably why. So nonetheless, here I am again. And yeah, I think this is straight. It's fine. So today I wanted to talk about something that has been on my brain, on my radar for a little while now, since I guess August, yeah. So as I've been reading the Old Testament, this phrase, full of days, tends to come up when it talks about the end of someone's life. So instead of saying their days ran out, the Bible describes them as they were full of days when they went to go rest with their fathers, right? And so that really hit me one day, because I think so often we consider, if life is an hourglass and there's like the top half running into the bottom, we think about ourselves as that top half that's like trickling out slowly, when really the picture that the Bible paints for us is that we are the bottom half of the hourglass. We're becoming full of something, right? So what are we becoming full of becomes the question that we wrestle with, because we don't run empty. We might think that we're running empty. There might be seasons and times of life where we feel like depleted, but at the end of the day, that's because we've been filled with things that deplete us. So at the end of our lives, we are overflowing with something. Our cup is full of something and it's flowing over. Is that wisdom? Is that goodness? Is that firm character? Is that blessings? Or is that generational mess? Is it addiction? Is it pain? Is it suffering that we've inflicted on the lives around us, on the generations going forward that come from us? Like, it becomes a legacy question, right? And so that's just something that's been sitting with me, and I wanted to talk about it today. I did make a little graphic, if anyone saw my Instagram a few weeks ago, and I decided to take it down because I wanted to do this instead and actually explain better maybe some of the nuance, because I never want to put something out there that makes people feel discouraged, I guess. And so I titled this, Am I Full of Days, or Are My Days Full of Me? Your days can also be full of everybody else except for you, and that's also a problem. So again, that's why I wanted to talk about the context more. But at the end of the day, when you like strip away any catchy phrases, what you're really looking at is, are my days full of the kingdom, which is the heart of God, or is it filled with my own agenda? Because your own agenda can be the most selfless agenda in the world and completely disqualify yourself, and that's still not right. And it can be an agenda that's, I'm fully focused on me, what I need, I'm gonna get what I want out of this life, and then that is also gonna run you into a wall too. And I can say all of that because I've done both, okay? I've been like, I'm all about Lexi, I'm all about everyone else, and I've hit those walls. The only time I don't hit a wall is when I'm like, okay, what would Jesus do? And so again, like, you can take all of this with a grain of salt. I don't anticipate that everybody will share my belief system, but I've seen the difference in my own life. And so I think it's worth talking about, because I don't know that I've heard anybody talk about it like this. So to reiterate, when you look at an hourglass, and like, I have a very like faint hourglass sitting in the background of this, if you can see. So the top half is not us, we're the bottom half. We're becoming full of something, okay? And ideally, we want to become full of good things. We want to be pouring over wisdom, expertise, the hard work that we've put into something so that we can pass it down so that it can be expounded upon. So if you think about like science or like mathematics, like when you get that base formula, then that compounds to add other variables, other things, and it builds up and up and up. I am not a math person, so if that does not sound correct, fix the analogy in your own head, please. Or like with science or philosophy or theories, like those things compound, they take on different sections and additions. So even like attachment theory, which I've referenced several times, it is much different today than it was when the initial theory was established. And that's because the hard work of people before us grew into other things. And so, I mean, the Bible describes life as just a flash. I'm in Job right now, and in the depths of the suffering of Job, he's just like, my life is but a breath, but a flash. It's short. So like, you know, even in all of the pain that he was going through, he's like, I'm just like the dust of the earth, basically. And it's true. Our lives are very short, and it doesn't mean that there's no point, but it means that we are making an impact that's going to compound much more so without our presence here than it will with our presence here. And I just do not think that we talk about that enough in the church. All right, like we are supposed to live lives with legacy in mind, with the kingdom in mind, because the kingdom is eternal and it's forming and it's everlasting. And we either contribute to that or we don't contribute to it, or we throw things into the path and try to, you know, cause havoc in the kingdom coming, right? So those are really your only three options. And I guess just to flesh out what I mean when I say like kingdom come, thy will be done, what I mean by kingdom, that is something that is understood, I feel like, in the Christian church, but I again try to tailor myself to people that are learning or just interested in a good life, and I do use the Christian lens to explain that. And so it's quite a Pandora's box that I will not get into today, but a lot of the Christian church thinks that one day we're just going to die and go to heaven, this other dimension in the sky, and we don't have to worry about this earth anymore. And that's just simply not true. That's not scriptural, and that's not what's going to happen. And that is why we as co-creators alongside God, who created everything, are supposed to steward the world well. And there have definitely been times where the church got that very wrong and other cultures got it very right, and then we knock those people out the way. Shout out to my Native American roots, because they were much more aligned with God in their way of stewarding the world than the Christians who came in and didn't do that, and still do that today. So the kingdom is this earth that we live on, the things that we choose to do with it, the way that we work with the soil and the skies and the plants and the animals and just every aspect of this beautiful place with all these wonderful resources that we've been given. And it's not necessarily even just about like the physical, tangible things, but the spirit and the peace of those things, right? And so then we get into things like community, interpersonal relationships, societies, well-being, government, just the whole entire gamut. Like God's heart is for all of us to be flourishing, for us all to live into purpose. And there are many systems that, for the large majority of people, put roadblocks in the way of flourishing. And so what we aim to do with our lives as Christians that know the call to restore the kingdom, we try our very best, whether we have a limited scope or a large influence, to bring the kingdom to earth. So if we are in a government position, our job is to bring flourishing to the kingdom. If we work in social services, same thing. If we own a bakery, same thing. Like, it does not matter the genre. There is always a way to sprinkle the kingdom dust over anything that you do. And even if you're a homemaker, like, sprinkle some kingdom dust in there too. Make your home comfortable and inviting. Host people. Be a good steward of the things that you have. So the possibilities are never ending, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about the kingdom. So we in and of ourselves, like our bodies are described as a temple. That's a part of the kingdom. And I think that's why it's so important that we steward ourselves in such a way that we are being filled up with the kingdom, with the qualities of God, with the heart of God, with the agenda of God, because that is what keeps us balanced between what do I need and what do others need, and where do those things meet in the middle, because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And if you are just fully focused on yourself, then you end up knocking other people's cups over. We don't want to do that. So, that's why the balance matters. And the only place that I've found where that balance really makes sense in all scenarios is in the context of the Christian life. And so that's why I follow Jesus. One of many reasons. But let me see here if there's anything super special that I wrote in here that I need to touch on before I keep going. Yeah. Just stewardship. I don't think this is going to be a very long word, to be so honest with you. It just matters how we steward the things around us. And when we think about life and the impact that we make as having actual consequences, we live very differently, or at least I hope that we would, because we live in a narrative that is a lot more self-indulgent, like, oh, this might be the only reality that I get to exist in, so let me just indulge in all of these things. Let me have all these different relationships and do all these different things and go from here to there to here to there, and let me think of myself first and think of the consequences later. Or we just get so tied up in a system where it's like we don't have any sense of autonomy, we don't have any sense of self. And I definitely will not stereotype, but I do feel like women, mothers more specifically, tend to fall into that category of so others focused that they lose themselves. And men tend to fall into this category of being a provider and being a breadwinner, and all of those things are pushed as the more important decisions to make than supporting a collective. So like support self over the collective. And again, the balance is in between those things, I think, for both genders. And it's not that there was never a man who was so focused on family that he forgot himself too, because that's, again, a very possible dynamic where maybe he never got to pursue his own dreams because he was so focused on, I have to support like my family or my parents or my wife and my children, that like he neglected purpose as well. And so this is really an all around the circle conversation. But the main point that I just would like to drive home, and I'm just checking the time, the main point I want to drive home is that there's no judgment in this conversation. It's not a matter of like you've wasted your whole life and you're terrible, or you've done such a great job, pat yourself on the back. Like, no, this is all about humility, because even the best of us can be more centered and more wise, and that should be the goal, but not with a heart of look at me. It should be look at God. And it's just important that we start to reframe our existence as we don't have a lot of time. That's not to be scary. That's not to be a Debbie Downer. That's just to say we don't have a lot of time. We feel like we do, we think we do, we don't. And that's just something that I think is pushed on a lot of us. You know, we have these phones, we have all these things going on, all of these distractions. We think, oh, we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow. And I am so guilty of that. It's not even funny. But we really don't have all the time in the world. And we rarely are encouraged to sit with that, because sitting with that would reshift a lot of perspectives, I think. And so not only do we not have a lot of time, but the things that we do, the decisions we make will compound, and a lot of the consequences of those actions will not actually occur in our own lifetimes. So it's a pretty common sentiment that, like, you know, painters and musicians from past centuries would have had no idea that their work mattered today, right? A lot of them lived in like poverty, were ill and kind of outcasted, and then today their paintings sell for millions on millions and whatever dollars or just different forms of art, things that leave an impact, legacies that leave an impact. That's something that happens for all of us, whether it's on a grand scale or a lineage scale, or even just the lack of a lineage, you know, which is okay. But at the end of the day, we become full of something. Our cup will one day overflow with whatever we've filled it with. And I think that it's worthwhile to consider, what are we filling our cups with? And what impact will that have when it starts to pour over on the people around me? Will I be a safe space? Will I be a comfort? Will I be someone who uplifts? Will I be someone who shares wisdom? Or am I going to just run myself dry? Or am I going to pour over my dysfunction onto the people that love me most? Because we do tend to live in this vacuum where we think that the decisions we make only have consequences for us. But human beings are wired to be communal, to be integrated, to be interpersonal. And that's just simply not the facts. If you make decisions that hurt you, you are hurting other people. And yeah, just things to consider. I don't know. This is more of a perspective shifting word. And I'm sorry if it was a little bit all over the place, but I guess that's all I have to say. And I hope this is encouraging, because like I said, I'm not perfect in this by any means, but I can tell you that in the last 5 or so years that I've made it my mission to consider what I'm filling my cup with, and to, you know, flush out the bad things and bring in the good things, that it has changed everything. It's literally changed everything. It changes what I attract. It changes the things that I'm repelling. It changes what I am focused on. It changes my ability to just have peace in all things. That is something I just did not have before, but I do now. And so if you have any questions about this, if anything didn't translate, if you would like maybe some tips on how to steward this, I will call this maybe a part 1. And I'd be happy to dig into more specifics on how to actually structure your life to pour good things into your cup, and how to maybe excavate the bad things, the bad habits, the potential downfalls and pits that will cause you to overflow with bad stuff. So I send you all love, and I'm happy you're here. And if you have any suggestions, of course, or topics that you would like me to talk about, leave comments, email me. I've had a few people email me, and that's always very sweet. So whatever works for you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.